Today, I'm going to be setting up a brand new sprinkler system for a greenhouse that we just installed in our front yard. So as my mission to create communities that are self-reliant for power, water, and food, I'm starting to take an interest into gardening. And we bought a small little greenhouse for our front yard. And in it, I'm starting to germinate seeds. So right now, we have several different species of different food, veggies, everything from lettuce to artichoke to tomatoes to my strawberry bush that's struggling, with the goal of being able to do our own seedlings and then basically grow our own garden. This is also a skill that I'm learning at home that I plan to implement at the Derby Canyon. And right now, we don't have a lot of great space for what to do with those plants or having a large garden. So next, or I should say this fall, my big project is going to be to set up raised garden beds so that we can start seedlings in there and grow enough food to start contributing to our weekly vegetable consumption. Now, we currently have a sprinkler system for the front yard. I'm not a big fan of watering grass. I believe more native vegetation that can actually survive in the environment instead of taking something that's not natural to the area and putting a bunch of resources like fresh water into it. So we don't have a standard sprinkler system. We just have, in the very hottest parts of summer, a temporary system that I set up that's on a timer that gets all of our most important plants, especially all of these guys, all of the cool kind of plants in the front yard and landscaping, and that's where I used to grow my vegetables at. So my new challenge is I'm going to have a different watering schedule for the lawn as I do for the veggies and greenhouse. And so I went ahead and purchased a new water timer, which has dual zones. So what that means is I should be able to program it where one hose goes to the greenhouse, one hose goes to the yard, and they're on completely different schedules because I'm going to be watering the greenhouse daily and the yard more like every 2 to 3 days, depending on how hot it is in the summertime here. So that's the project for today. The first step is going to be getting the hose and the water run, and then I'm going to be using this system that I bought on Amazon. This is actually something I bought like a year ago, didn't end up using, but will be perfect now, where we have all kinds of different nozzles and lines. It's basically a do-it-yourself sprinkler system with all the different parts. We have everything from drip heads to directional spray type nozzles. And this thing, I believe, is just kind of like a octopus with water jets coming out in all different directions. So essentially what I'm going to be able to do is take these parts and design a system that is 100% custom to the greenhouse. I'm going to run that hose off that timer, off of that system that we just saw with that dual zone, and basically run all those lines up and into the greenhouse. For right now, those seeds are just germinating, so I'm watering by hand with the lid on, and in one day, once they germinate, which I think only takes about a week or so, then we'll take those lids off and this will be our main system. So that's the next project. Stay tuned. So the cool thing about this system is it's powered by a battery. You basically program the clock and then from there can set a watering time and schedule. And so I'm going to be able to set the system up to run for like 20 minutes every day at like 6 in the morning, especially for that greenhouse, and then more like 15 minutes every 2 days for our yard. We want to fix this to our outside spigot. I'm going to turn it on. Whoop. Looks like it just did a test blow. But, you know, it's got rubber gaskets. I just want to make sure when it's on, we never have leaking, because this is going to be on all the time. Because your water always has to be on so that this opens up the valves based on the programming we just made. So I don't see any leaks at all whatsoever. So now we'll take the old timer that only had one zone, which is why this one's being replaced. Otherwise, it's been a great unit. That one's actually going to go up to the Derby Canyon cabin and be part of the garden that I'm planning to plant up there. And then this is for my yard. All right, that's zone 1 on the left. This is gonna be zone 2. So we got both of our zones set up. Right now I'm mostly concerned with the greenhouse, and this is all new to me. This is all trial and error. But basically, we've got our hose, which is on a timer. It'll run for 15 minutes a day, every day. And now I get to just build my own system. So we have this larger line that's connected to the hose. Essentially, the kit that I bought includes these guys where the large line comes in here and you have a smaller line that comes off of these. And then your smaller line is what your sprinkler heads go to. And this is that smaller line. And I'm planning in here, I'm using these sprinkler heads. Before I think I said they're directional, I think they're just adjustable 360. This screws on and off. And so what my plan is right now is to run the hose up here. I need to clean this up a little bit, but basically to have one of these on each level. My kit only came with 4. There are, I can buy more pieces and there's bigger kits available, but I'm gonna have one here, same thing on this side. And then from there, I'll be able to run a network of these smaller lines, which will go individually to one of these per pot. And I also have these splitters. So if only having these 4 is not enough, then I can run a line off and then split it down here as well. Hopefully you guys are visualizing what I'm saying. I'm gonna put that all to work right now. If you guys have any experience or knowledge above and beyond what I'm talking about, feel free to chime in and comment. I'm really passionate about this stuff, but I'm learning seedlings and greenhouses and all this stuff just from scratch right now. The thing that you should appreciate about this channel is we're always going to be open and honest about things we know really well and things that I'm learning. And I'm always going to try new things. As you guys probably know, this channel is dedicated towards building sustainable communities and empowering people to be self-reliant. Sustainable communities, to me, mean they produce their own power, water, and food. So this is me learning the food aspect. I was a solar consultant for 10 years, and solar energy is more than enough for off-grid power. There's other technologies you can mix in with that as well. And again, I'm not trying to dictate, I'm trying to learn. So please comment, let me know what you do differently, especially if you're an expert or have a lot of hands-on experience with any of the ideas that I'm going through. All right, I had a small feeling that might happen. I don't know how well you guys saw that, but basically we blew the lines off of our sprinkler heads. These little lines are much more difficult to fit than the larger one. I just can't quite get them on there before they start to, you can't push them because it's too soft and they won't go any further. I know a trick for this. If you dip the end of that in hot water for like 10 seconds, it'll push right on. So I'm gonna go boil some water and bring it out in a thermos cup. And then I'll dip them for about 10-15 seconds. They get real soft, push them on, and that will probably make a much better connection. All right, I've got my boiling water in a cup. So if I take a line, 9, 10, this should be a lot softer and a lot easier to put on. Oh yeah, that works so good if you get just the tip. Let's give it one more try. Well, I think one thing's safe to say, this is definitely overkill. This one seems to have shot the top off, which I think is actually more of a manufacturing quality control issue. They all seem to be way more powerful than I was expecting. Maybe that would change with more of them. And this one flew right off the end, being in the off position. Let's try it one more time. Well, the pressure is definitely overkill for what I'm trying to do. This might need a little more finagling, and I might revisit this project when I have more plants. So after about 7 or more attempts at getting these little fittings on, they keep blowing off. So you can see right here that end is exposed. I followed the directions. I heated the water up utilizing just warm water. I reattached like 3 times, and every single one of these fittings has blown off. So like that one blew off, that one blew off, that one blew off, that one blew off, and then even the ends have blown off. I had a lot of hope for these little drip nozzles like this that basically aerate or kind of create a mist, and I was going to hang those around. But almost every connection has blown more than once, and it seems, honestly, it seems like there's just too much pressure for the system to handle. I mean, we're just attached to a standard garden hose, and I tried, again, no exaggeration, about 7 times, where multiple fittings were reattached multiple times, and every single time I tested the system, it blew a new fitting off. So at this point, I just don't think that's a very good system. It was cheap on Amazon. I mean, you get what you pay for. I went back to look at it to give you guys an exact idea, but it has no brand name. They're not even available on Amazon. So as far as learning from my experiences and mistakes, I would say I would just stay away from that stuff. So I went ahead and ordered just a misting system, with the idea being that I'm gonna install that misting system on the racks above and on the supports in the greenhouse, and basically just water the entire greenhouse with a ton of mist. That should be here next week. So hopefully we'll have an updated video, part 2, with that new system in place, and may or may not be able to use this for raised garden beds, because again, it just seems like it has too much pressure. The only solution I can think of is setting up an entire system so that pressure is spread out over more of those nozzles. Or, I don't know if space allows, but I might be able to put a tiny zip tie on those little nozzle heads right where they mushroom up, which is supposed to hold it in place. Those are the only solutions I can think of. At the end of the day, that kit was only like 25 bucks. So if I learn my lesson and don't buy anything like that again, that's totally fine. But until next time, hopefully you guys found this useful. We're just about a week in to this greenhouse project. The next step and phase will be to build some raised garden beds out here so that we can take our seedlings and actually grow them and start producing a significant amount of our own vegetables. So stay tuned. As always, subscribe, and you'll see future updates on this greenhouse, raised garden beds, and everything else that we're doing to live off the land. My mission is self-reliance through sustainable living, and we're here to build a community. Click here to subscribe to be sure to get more awesome content for living off the land. And be sure to go in to enter for notifications. Click that bell, get notifications, and stay in tune. Subscribe, watch, and comment. Let's build a community. See you soon.